Today I'm going to take a look at pretty much all of the mutants that have been featured in the live action X-Men movies and compare their powers. See which ones I'd like to have, see which ones just aren't worth the negatives. Now I've got to take the full package. You don't get to pick and choose what parts of it you get. You get the negatives, you get the positives, you get all of it at once. We've got almost 100 mutants to go through, so thanks for sticking with me as we get into that. We're going to kind of be going in order as to how they show up in the movies. And so if you don't see somebody early on, just don't worry, they're coming. They'll be down the line. Make sure to let me know what you think in the comments below. Let's go ahead and just get started. We're going to start off with the big guy himself, Professor X. He's got telepathy, right? But super advanced versions of it. He can do all kinds of stuff. He's got, he can cloak people. He can take control of people's minds. He can, put up barriers and change people's memories and all kinds of stuff. Tons and tons of stuff. Very powerful. I don't know if I'd want that kind of responsibility. Plus, it also seems like it's an awful thing to just live with. The guy's taking drugs at certain points to be like, got to block out those powers. I think that if it comes down to it and I'm born with this, you do make it work, but it's definitely not something that I'm excited about, getting. I think I'm going to put this one in the middle of the road just because of like the constant rah, 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 of hearing everybody's thoughts. It's just got to be maddening unless you can get to the point where you are, just really mastering it. So I think I'm going to put it there just because also it's just a lot of pressure. All that power, you can do some really awful things. I don't know if I'm up to it. Wolverine is next. It's important to note when we're looking at these, I only want to be kind of factoring in the powers that you get naturally or that develop naturally. I don't get to count his metal claws. Wolverine does still have his bone claws, so I would have that. But he's also got super strength, super durability, speed. The healing factor is a big thing in here. I don't know. This is one where it's like, yeah, that would be really nice. But again, there's all that mental stuff that comes into it. You got to watch the people that you love die over and over and over again. The guy's been alive for over 200 years at this point, so he's gone through it a couple of times. Honestly, I don't know what good bone claws would do me. I think it's one of those things that maybe I would have it, but I wouldn't really use it very much. But all that being said, I still think that it's overall pretty great. And so I think we put this one up in that A tier. Magneto's powers are just super awesome. He can control metal. Because of that, he can make himself fly. He can sense metal and everything. I don't know how I would be using that, maybe to find the precious metals, right? So then we can talk about ways to be making money off of this.
I gotta figure out how to make money on this thing. It's simply too good.
I'm not really seeing any downsides with this. If I'm not actively trying to take over the world, I don't think that there's really any bad thing about being Magneto power wise. If I woke up with Magneto's powers one day, I'd be pretty stoked about that. So for me, this is an easy S tier. Storm is another one. I'm failing to see the downsides for this. I've already got the gray hair, so I don't have to worry about that happening to me. Being able to fly would be awesome, and being able to manipulate the weather is just super great. In the comics, I know that she does all kinds of stuff with that, where she's helping things grow. You don't see that happen in the movies, right? Where you're controlling the weather to make it so crops are doing well. But no, just being able to be oh yeah, lightning over there instead of over here. Being able to help with wildfires is a big thing, right? And around where I live, I think that would be super awesome. But just also being able to fly, it's hard to argue with that. So this one again is going to be an S tier. And in fact, I'm putting this one above Magneto even. Jean Grey's got a lot of the same stuff as Professor X, right? She can do all the telepathy, but she's also got telekinesis. So she's a step above. She can be moving things with her mind. Also, depending on what version of her we're talking about in the movies, she's got the Phoenix power inside of her already, where she's just disintegrating people. Again, that's not something I personally want to be able to do. But I do think that the fact that she has the telekinesis pushes her up a little bit from Professor X, because I'm going to want to use that. Being able to move stuff around, it's good, but you still got all those negatives that come along with people just talking in your head all the time. I'm bad enough with the voices that I hear. They're just me. I don't need to hear everybody else's thoughts as well. And also, I don't think I would do very well with just knowing what everybody actually thinks about me. I like the nice version that they present to me. And I don't need to know the truth all the time. Jean Grey's powers are going in that B tier. Now, Cyclops is one where it's at first you're okay, that'd be cool to be able to shoot lasers out of my eyes. But I got to remember that I'm getting the powers. I don't necessarily have everything that goes along with it. I don't have super smart friends to the genius level, right? No offense to anybody who's my friend, but I don't have super smart genius friends who are going to be able to design a visor that lets me be able to focus my my optic beams into like precise lasers. I'm just going to be at best sunglasses guy, but I don't even think I'm getting there. I think I'm going to be having to keep my eyes closed like forever guy. Like that's what I'm going to have to be, which is, I mean, it's different than being blind, right? Because if you're blind, you can't see, you don't have to worry about opening your eyes. But this is like, if I open my eyes, I could blow up an entire school. Not really something that I want to be doing. There is the potential to use it maybe once or twice, like in a way that could be good. Like maybe my job is to just clear rocks. Like they take me to places, they point my head in the right direction, open my eyes, I blow up a mountain. Okay, there you go. We got a job at least. So I'm not going to put it all the way down in F tier, but it's D tier. I'm putting Senator Kelly here. You might argue he's not a mutant. He got turned into a mutant. There's some other people on the list that I'm going to include that also fit into that, but whatever. This guy's got elasticity powers, like he's flexible, but I don't know if he's necessarily flexible in ways that he wants to be. Like I'm not stretching. It's not a Mr. Fantastic kind of thing. I can slide through prison bars. I can escape people who are trying to grab me. He's also got like water abilities. Like he's kind of adapting to the water and can breathe under the water. So, I mean, that's kind of cool, but overall his powers are kind of gross. Plus they're not permanent. Like he dies. So that's not great. I think I'm gonna have to put this one in F tier. Now Mystique's powers are super cool. She can shapeshift into anybody. It doesn't really even matter like how big they are. She looks just like them. She's also creating clothing, so you won't have to worry about that. Plus on top of the shapeshifting, she's at least got superhuman agility, maybe even a bit of a healing factor, depending on who you talk to online. But even if we're just talking shape-shifting, I think that that power is enough to get her all the way up there into S tier. I'd love to be able to change the way that I look, just like on a dime. Sure, there is the fact that you're like a blue person, like when you're not shape-shifting, but it doesn't seem like it's that hard to be shape-shift. Yes, the story of like, be yourself, don't worry, let the world judge you and everything. You shouldn't have to be. That's all true. It's all great. But I could look like anybody. Imagine the possibilities. If she could fly, it would be perfect. I'm going to put her in S tier, but she's going to be below Magneto. Now, when it comes to Toad, you look at him at first, you're like, guy's just kind of gross. But I don't think you have to be gross if you have these powers. He can jump really far. He's super flexible. He's got a 13-foot long tongue that he can use to grab things. So that's cool. Being able to crawl on walls, also very awesome. I mean, like the guy doesn't even like look that gross in the first X-Men movie. He's Ray Park, and which is Darth Maul. So like you're pretty awesome looking. Granted, in the Days of Future Past timeline, he does look a little more unique, we'll say. But I don't know if it's enough to really knock it crazy far down on the list. He doesn't have to worry about people talking in his head, so I'm going to put him in the B tier above Jean. Sabretooth has pretty much all the same abilities as Wolverine. The only big differences are that his claws don't come out of his knuckles. They're like his fingernails that are extended. And then also he looks more scary. So, I mean, I think I might bump him down to the B tier because, you know, regular Sabretooth does look like a werewolf. And so it's a little more to live with. Though, I don't know, hair removal techniques and technology have come a long way. Since 1999 or 2000, like when the movie came out. So, you know what? I'm going to put him in A tier. I put him in A tier. I think that like having the retractable fingernails too and everything, it's a little more practical as well. They don't shoot out like the bone claws do. A little less likely to accidentally murder somebody. So yeah, sure. Okay. We'll put him in A tier. With Rogue, we have to think about a couple of things. So Rogue's powers are that she can absorb people's life force. So essentially like kill somebody, like drain them of their energy. But then she also can take people's mutant abilities. So in this world, if I'm the only mutant, I don't really want this power. I don't want to be some kind of weird contract killer who goes around and just like kills people by touching them. No, thank you. It's not what I'm interested in. If there are other mutants also, I'm going to feel bad doing that. I'm going to live life like Rogue does, where I get to wear super long white gloves and I just don't touch anybody. And I constantly am in a relationship where I'm like, no, don't touch me. No, I wish I could kiss my boyfriend. Yeah, so for me, this one's not great. At least she doesn't look like a scary monster. So like, she at least has that going for her. I'll put it in D tier. So Iceman, this guy's awesome. He doesn't really do a ton in like the first few movies. And in fact, it's not till X-Men Last Stand where we really get to see him even turn into Iceman. But once he goes solid ice, he's pretty cool. He gets like enhanced strength and enhanced durability when that happens. But then also just shooting ice, pulling the Frozone move, skating on that, that's pretty cool. You'd be real comfortable around that kind of stuff. You don't ever have to worry about getting cold. That's nice. Being able to just instantly cool drinks and all of that. I feel like you could have easy money doing that. I don't know why I'm trying to make money out of every single one of these, but I'm just thinking realistically. It gives me more to work with the mutant power. Plus, he can just go back to normal too. So you just blend in like everybody else. I think this one is really good. I'm going to put it up there in the S tier. You talk about Iceman, then you got to talk about Pyro. So the difference between Iceman and Pyro is Iceman can create his own ice. Pyro cannot. Now, that could be a good thing. You're not going to accidentally burn down a house just by like spontaneously catching on fire. So that's good. But at the same time, you're going to need to have fire to be able to manipulate it. I think it's a pretty useful power. There's lots of ways that you could use it that could be helpful to a community. Not just in being able to create fires, but being able to like put them out. They'd be really, really good. I'm going to put this one up there in the A tier, below the super healing, super soldier guys like Wolverine and Sabretooth. Next up is Nightcrawler. He's got a ton of powers. He can teleport. He's got superhuman agility and speed and all that stuff. He's also got a tail, and he also can wall crawl. But he's also like a blue demon looking guy. So there's that. Now it would be a lot to live with constantly looking like this, but man, those powers are so cool. The teleportation and everything. Again, we're talking some big money. You can move stuff really easily. Though he does kind of have that restriction on his powers where he's got to be able to kind of see where he's going, or like I've been there before. So I don't know. Let's say, I think that if you got a winning personality like Kurt does, you do get to, have people eventually warm up to you and everything. If you can get past that first part where they're trying to kill you with pitchforks and torches. So with that weighing it down a little bit, I'm going to put him in the B tier, but it's going to be above Jean. Lady Deathstrike, again, going to have very similar powers to Wolverine and to Sabretooth, but she's not really having any of those negatives that we mentioned on Sabretooth. She doesn't look like a scary monster. She just looks like a normal person. But then she's also got the claws coming out of her fingernails as opposed to out of the knuckles, so that's a bonus as well. I'm putting her in the A tier, but above Wolverine. You got to remember, it's me getting these powers, not me getting all of their abilities, the fighting and stuff and everything. I've got to use them the way that I've got my skills today. Jones is one of the kid mutants that we meet in X2. He's got the power to kind of control technology. He's a technopath, which is awesome. He can change the channels with his eyes pretty much. And so that is something that I would enjoy having, being able to control technology. We don't see him do much outside of that. We do hear that he doesn't sleep, which would be, I don't know, a lot. There's a lot of just emotional regulation stuff that comes from sleeping and having that break. So even though it's like, oh, I could get so much done, it's also like, yeah, but I do like to sleep some. We don't see him do too much with these powers, so I am kind of like, it's not worth it just to be able to turn on a TV with my eyes. But at the same time, if that's just the gateway, there could be more. I'm gonna put him in C tier just because of the potential of it, but not any higher than that. Kitty Pryde has the ability to like run through walls and like kind of sink through the floor, and also have other people do that as well. I do like that, being able to just kind of walk straight to where I want to go. You don't have to worry about using doors anymore. So that's pretty cool. You can have lots of secret areas in your house that way. That'd be fun. She also has the ability in the later movies to like send people back in time through their consciousness to like old versions of themselves or younger versions of themselves. So yeah, I don't know if I would ever really use that. Maybe to win some lottery numbers. Guys, this could actually be a pretty good one.
Simply too good.
Okay, I wasn't going to put Kitty quite as high, but I think now I'm going to have to. Kitty's going to go really high because of that, being able to send people back. She says that she can send people back, like a couple weeks. So that wouldn't even be a problem. We could just go back that same day to win the lottery. So yeah. All right. I'm taking those Shadowcat powers, and those ones are going up into that S tier. I'm going to put it below Magneto. She still can't fly. I really think that that's like an important one. Siryn has a sonic scream. It doesn't seem to blow anybody backwards or anything like that. It's just very powerful. It hurts people's ears. I don't know when I would really use that. I'm going to put it in C tier because it's not like a negative, but it's pretty useless for me. I love Colossus, and he's got some cool powers, mostly because it's just about being big and strong and pretty much invulnerable. He's got metal skin, and then depending on like the version of him that you're seeing in the movies, he can transform out of it. I think the reason he doesn't do that in Deadpool is because the guy who's doing the voice is different than the guy who's doing like the body acting, and so that's why they're always just like, he just is always metal. But he does transform back into normal in like the original trilogy. So I'm going to put this one pretty high too. There's not really any negatives that I see with it. I'm going to put it in the S tier, right below Iceman. Next up is Beast. He's got the standard like speed, agility. He can like climb on walls. He's got retractable claws, but he does look like a big blue monster. But at least he's kind of like a friendly blue monster. He's got the hair. I think that helps kind of soften you a little bit, more like a Sully situation as opposed to like a Blue Devil. I think overall I still am going to put Nightcrawler a little bit ahead of him, but he's right there next to him. Jason Stryker is a telepath. So like Professor X, he's able to kind of illusion manipulate people as well. He leads to his mother like using a drill on her own head, which is pretty messed up. But again, I don't think that that's something I personally would be doing. So my mom is safe. I feel like I got to put him like right there with Professor X because they're essentially like the same guy. Just one's a little bit more powerful. Cypher is able to learn languages instantly. Cool, I guess. I don't see him do this in the movie. I don't know exactly where they're pulling this from. If you could do that, that's pretty awesome. But how awesome is it? Let's put it in... I'm going to put it in the B tier, but just above Jean Grey. This Flea kid, he's got enhanced agility. I'll put him in C tier, right below the kid who can change the TV channel with his mind. Next up's the Juggernaut. Technically not a mutant in the comics, but in the movie he is a mutant because his powers get taken away by a different mutant whose power is to take away mutant powers. So he's a mutant in the movie. So in here he can smash through stuff, super strong. He's unstoppable once he gets moving, which is pretty cool. Again, I don't know how I'm going to really use that. I'm not going to have like this big old helmet that lets me just smash through everything quite as easily as he does. He doesn't really have any like physical tells that like make him look like some kind of a monster or anything. So I think that he might get to go up in like that A tier because I don't see a ton of negatives from it. So we'll put him below Pyro. Angel has big wings that he can fly with. I'm a fan of that. Having to live with giant wings would make things difficult, like riding in cars. That's something that wouldn't happen easily. And even though you can fly, that doesn't mean you want to fly everywhere, right? There's sometimes you're like, I'm just going to take the train. I'm going to put the giant wings in the B tier, right below Toad. Callisto has a couple different powers. First off, she can kind of sense where other mutants are and sense their power level, which is helpful in the X-Men movies. I'm not sure I would want that power in a way where it would be helpful. The government would be using me to track people down. I'm not really cool with that. But she's also got super speed. Now, super speed is pretty cool. She seems to be having a fun time with it. She's just kicking Storm's butt the entire movie. She doesn't like have a third leg or anything that helps her run faster, so you don't have to worry about anything odd like that. I think I'm going to put her in the A tier. I'm going to be right above the Juggernaut. Anole, or they call him like Lizard Man. Some people call him that. He can climb on walls. He's got superhuman agility, and he can camouflage himself. Pretty cool. Not as cool as some of the other combinations that we've seen. I don't have a super clear look at him, but he does look green. So that doesn't make me necessarily want to be him too much. I think I might put him down there in that C tier, or right below the kid that changes the channel with his brain. Again, for whatever reason, that guy's kind of become my North Star, right? My grading point. Multiple Man can make multiple copies of himself, and I think that one is actually pretty cool. They seem to be able to do whatever you want them to do. He's robbing multiple banks at the same time. Again, that's not something I personally would want to do, but being able to go into just accomplish tasks quickly, that would be great. Being able to do the dishes, clean the bathroom, and all of that all at once, without having it have to take all day to do all of it. Packing, that would be very helpful for that. So I don't see really any negatives on this one at all. Let's put this guy in the A tier. I'm going to put it right above the super fast Callisto. Leech, his powers are to leech the powers off of other people, but he doesn't get to use them like in a fun way where, if you're a rogue, you get to be like, okay, now I have the power. He just takes them away. So it's very lame, especially if I was the only mutant. Hey, maybe I have this mutant power in real life. I have it right now and I just don't realize it because there are no other mutants around me. So yeah, he goes down in there in that F tier. I don't want it. It's not interesting. It's boring. I will put him above Senator Kelly just because at least I don't turn into a weird water monster when I have these ones. In the movie, we see Hellion use telekinesis. Telekinesis is pretty cool. It's not specific to just turning a TV off and on, so that's cool as well. I think that I might put this guy in the B tier. I'm going to go above Jean Grey. And I'm also going to go above the kid that can just learn languages really fast. This is cooler than that, obviously. This guy's name is Phat with a PH, and he can control kind of like the fat deposits of his body. At least that's how I read it. But he can make himself bigger or smaller. And that can be beneficial, right? If you're playing football, you want to be able to like lead people into like a false sense of security. And all of a sudden, like, boom, you're like 350 pounds. You're stopping a guy, right? So it's going to be helpful, I think, in a lot of ways like that. But then also you can fit anywhere you want to. You get on an airplane. Oh, it doesn't matter if you have the middle seat. You can just make yourself teeny tiny. So I think this one is helpful, but not in like a way where it's like, yeah, I definitely want to have that one. So I'll put it right above the kid that can change the channels with his brain. Welcome to the C tier, Phat. You are the new grading standard. Arclight has a cool power like in comics or like in a superhero story where she can like do, supersonic pulses that can destroy stuff and everything. But I don't really know how helpful that's going to be for me. She can like pinpoint it really good. She can like just break the guns and everything without like killing people. But at the same time, I'm just like, why am I going to need to use that? How am I going to need to use that? But she doesn't really have anything that makes it so it's like a negative for her. Though, I don't know. There's something about her hair. I've always thought it's pretty funny. I think it's got some more potential than just like the hypersonic scream. So I'll put her right below Professor X, but above that girl that can do that. Glob Herman, he, at least in this, is only shown to just have like transparent skin and like a living wax body is how I read it described. There's nothing else about him that is even that cool. Like, I don't even know what he can do with his powers. All he does is run and then get like shot by the Cure, and like that's it. And it's like, okay, I think he was kind of excited to get cured. Actually, I think he was using this as a way to have that happen. Personally, this one is pretty low. Being able to see your innards and stuff too without any like plus on that side is not something I'd particularly be stoked on either. So I'll put him below Leech, but I'm still not going to put him underneath Senator Kelly, because at least you're not an actual glob monster, even though your name is Glob. Now this guy named Quill, he can make quills pop out of his skin, and he can like kind of poke them out further to be intimidating, but you're just essentially a porcupine. And that just seems like all negatives to me. I'm not going to be able to, hold my kids. I'm not gonna be able to like hug my wife. I'm not going to be able to sit down on a couch without like ripping it up. It's just not a good one. And so for me, this guy's going in F tier as well. We'll put him above Glob though. This guy, Spike, he's got some kind of like healing factor because he's able to heal up when he shoots these spikes out of his wrists. But outside of that, he's just throwing these bone spikes at people. So I don't think I'd really use that part of the power very much. But again, being able to heal and not get sick, not really probably age that much, is nice. So I think I'll put him kind of like up there near Wolverine and Sabretooth, and I'll put him above Sabretooth because, again, just looks like a normal dude. Granted, a normal dude from the early 2000s, but still just a normal dude. This kid's name is Artie. The only mutant thing we see him do is stick out a blue forked tongue. I don't even know if I'd really call it a power, right? So it's just a mutation. I feel like it's one of those things, it's like people would be like, oh, do you have like a blue tongue? You're like, yeah, it was born this way. And they're like, oh, that's kind of weird. And you'd be like, yeah, but it's always been like that. And they'd be like, oh, okay. So if that's all you got going for you, I don't feel like I need to put you down in the negative ones at all. I don't think you got to be down there in the D tier. I'm going to put you up in C tier, but the very bottom of it, because you're not bringing anything to the table, and we can just kind of write off the rest of your mutation. This guy's name is Ash. He is made of living ash and can like shoot smoke, fire stuff at people. Cool. If you're, again, fighting. I don't do much fighting in my everyday life. I don't see how helpful this is going to be to me. I think I'm going to put him down there in the D tier. I'm going to put him below Cyclops even, because you're still going to be like ashy fire monster, even if you're not actively using your abilities. John Wraith is one of the guys that hangs out with Wolverine, and he can what they call phase jump. So he just essentially can do what Nightcrawler can do, but he looks like a normal dude. And so he's going to bump up a bit from that, because you can just do whatever you want normally, but then also kind of teleport. His teleportation looks a little bit different. It's like a skeleton kind of comes in first, which is kind of cool. You just got to be careful to not like phase into anything else. So, you know, there's that. This one is pretty cool, though limited in that you have to be able to kind of see where you're going so you don't accidentally teleport into something else. So I'm going to put this one in A tier, and I'm going to put it above Pyro. Kayla Silverfox, Wolverine's wife. She has tactile mind control. So it touches you, she can persuade you to do things. Would this be a power I'd want to have? I don't know. There are probably responsible ways to use it, like ways you can help people calm down in tense situations, maybe through some kind of like healthcare use. Though, of course, whenever you step over that line of taking away people's free will, it is a little bit of a slippery slope, in my opinion. Definitely could be helpful, but there are some negatives in there. I'll put it in the B tier. I'll put it above Jean Grey, just because it doesn't have the negatives of having to read people's thoughts. Now with the Blob, we don't have to take into account like how ginormous this guy is, like to have the powers. He has the same powers earlier in the movie when he's just the guy who plays Proximus Caesar. So he can be pretty much invulnerable. He's super durable. He like can withstand any hit. Like he stops a tank from shooting by just sticking his hand down like the barrel of the cannon. So that's all pretty cool stuff. Also, he has like pain immunity, which I'm definitely a fan of. I'm putting this guy right above the Juggernaut. Chris Bradley is a lot like our TV kid, where he can control electronics. We see him do a lot more, like he's overriding shutdowns of elevators, and he's lighting light bulbs, because he also has like the ability to like create electricity as well. So I think this one's a bit better than the kid, and he does find a way to make money off it.
Simply too good.
I mean, working at a sideshow, maybe not the most lucrative thing that we could be doing, but overall, he seems to be sad and depressed. So maybe not the best. Maybe not the best. I'm going to put him above the kid that does the TV, but just barely. Woo-wee, it's Gambit. So he got the ability to like supercharge kinetic energy into things. So like he does it with throwing cards. He does it with his staff. He can blow stuff up, really is what it is. He's also got kind of like agility, speed. He's super accurate too, though, when he throws things. He can like, I don't know how he does it, where he like throws all the cards and everything. That's not really lining up with any of his other abilities, unless it's part of the like the kinetic blast stuff. I think this could be useful, like if you had a job that was specific to it. Again, like if you're running demolition or something like that. But I don't think that it's something that would necessarily be helpful in my everyday life. And it's one of those things that as you're learning this mutant ability, it's going to be kind of expensive, I think. Don't know how much I would ever use it, so I think I'm going to put him down there underneath that Flea kid who just has the enhanced agility. Agent Zero, he's got like that super speed, super strength, agility kind of stuff. He never misses, right? Essentially, like he's like Hawkeye, great accuracy. One thing that I do like about this guy, and I'm jealous of, is he doesn't smell. They do say that they can never smell him when he's approaching and everything, and so I'm a fan of that. It's not a particularly fun mutation, but it is something, and something I would not be afraid to use. We add that to the fact that he's, again, got that super accuracy, and I think I'm going to be really happy to put him above the kid that can learn languages really easily. B tier. Weapon 11 is the only mutant here where we're really going to have two versions of him. They call him Deadpool. It's obviously not Deadpool, and his power set is completely different too. So he's got just about everything that happens in X-Men Origins Wolverine. He's got the super reflexes. He's got teleportation. He's got the eye beams. He's got the ability to heal. He's got blades in his arms. He's got it all. If you're just a normal guy and you can do all that stuff, and he's got the control over it like he does, like with the eye beams, he can do that whenever he wants. He's actually pretty awesome. It's just the fact that he's gets called Deadpool and he's not Deadpool. That's the problem. He's actually like super good. And even if I'm just using like the powers that I like to use, he's got the teleportation, he's got the fast healing and everything. I've got the eye beams, but how I want to use them. So I think I got to put this guy pretty high. It feels bad to do it, but I'm going to put Weapon 11 in the S tier. That one just feels bad. It feels bad to do, happy to do it. Ice Princess is what they call this little girl that's stuck in a cage. She can make ice. It's pretty good. We don't really know to what extent she can do that, but I'd probably use it more than the supersonic blasts or anything like that. So I'm gonna put her in that C tier. And in fact, I'm gonna put her above Professor X because at least, again, everybody's not screaming in my head. So there's two versions of Emma Frost that get shown. We're just going to talk about them both here at the same time. So she's got like the diamond skin, which makes her like hard to hurt, but she's also got like all of the telepathy stuff in there too. And so, I don't know, again, we have those telepathy problems, but she can kind of turn it off when she turns into the diamond form. So that does give her a little bit of an edge. Plus it gives her some durability and everything as well. I think I'm going to put her right up there by Beast because, again, she's got the telepathy when she wants to use it, but she can turn it off in a way. She's super durable too. I don't know, it just feels right. Azazel is pretty much the same as Nightcrawler, except for he's red instead of blue. So I'll just put him a little bit lower because I honestly would rather look like a blue devil than like a red devil. So Havoc is Cyclops' brother, so he's got kind of similar powers, but instead of like shooting out of his eyes, it like shoots out of like around him, his chest and everything. And so it's a bit better. Now he is still worried about like killing people with his powers. That's why he's got himself locked up in in jail, but at least his eyes can be open. So he's got that going for him. I'm going to put this guy in the D tier because like if he's afraid of like what he's going to do to other people, I probably would need to be as well. But at least, again, you can read a book. So Darwin says that his abilities are to adapt to like any situation. That's pretty cool. You know, being able to breathe underwater, we see him do that. His skin can get all hard and scaly so that he doesn't get hurt when he gets smacked by things. So as long as nobody's dropping some kind of weird energy ball into your mouth like Kevin Bacon does to him, then you're going to be just fine. I like those powers. They're really defensive. They only change the way that he looks when he's using them. He just goes right back to normal. In the comics, he looks way different, but here, just normal dude. I think I'm going to put him up there by Pyro in that A tier. Sebastian Shaw has the ability to like absorb energy, so really he can't get hurt. Like people shoot at him, he absorbs the kinetic energy. He gets punched, he absorbs the energy from that. He can then use that energy in a lot of different ways. He, doesn't age. He can use telekinesis. He's super strong. He can, again, kind of like throw these weird energy bombs at people too. Yeah, so overall, it's pretty cool not getting hurt. I'm always a fan of that. Plus, like if I'm not like some creepy weirdo like he is, I could probably do some cool stuff with this too. That's good for humanity. So I don't see any reason why this one shouldn't go all the way up at the top. So it's going to go S tier. I'm going to put it below Colossus just because I think Colossus is cool. Banshee has advanced hearing, which is great because that means he can use his other power to do echolocation. What is his other power? He can scream really loud. Now, unlike Siryn, which we looked at earlier, the little girl that can scream, Banshee, he can scream so much that it can make himself like fly. And so that's cool, but you got to have, again, somebody who's going to design your flight suit and everything. I honestly don't think I have that. The coolest thing we see him do, like when he doesn't hang out with the X-Men, is he like scares a bunch of fish away at an aquarium. And I'm like, it's not that exciting, guy. It's a power that like you can have, never really have to use. So I'm going to put him like right above the telekinesis people. We got another angel, this one played by Zoe Kravitz, who would go on to be Catwoman. Her powers are that she can fly, which I like. She can spit like this acidic, like gunk balls at people, which is something, I guess. But then also her wings can disappear. So she's got that going for her. So that helps her move up a little bit because she can sit in a car, she can sit in an airplane, sit in a bus. I like that. But then she can fly, and she's very maneuverable when she flies. So that's good too. So I think this one's got to go real high because she's got that flight ability, even though the rest of it isn't super cool. I'll put her, again, let's go right underneath. I'm going to put her right underneath Colossus up there in that S tier. Riptide has the power to like create tornadoes and everything, but he can use them to fly. So that makes me want to bump it up a bit. Though you got to be careful where you do it. I got to be outside, got to be out in the open, not messing up anything while I'm doing this. How high do we want to go? I think I'll put him above the guy that doesn't smell at all, you know, Agent X or whatever, Agent Zero, because I think flying again is pretty cool. Yukio shows up in two different timelines here in the X-Men movies. The original one in the movie Wolverine, and then she also shows up in Deadpool 2. She has like electrokinesis powers once you get into Deadpool, but in the first time when she shows up in the Wolverine, she can sense when people are going to die by touching them, which doesn't really make sense as a mutant power. I don't know why you would get to know that. A lot of these still make sense as like mutations, but whatever. Her two powers don't really mesh well, like they just aren't connected at all. And I don't really see myself using either of them a ton, but they're not really hurting anything. So I think I'll just go ahead and put her down there by Arclight. The only other mutant that gets introduced in the Wolverine is Viper. She can heal, but she's got to like peel her skin off, and then you don't have any hair or anything. So you're really kind of starting over from scratch. Wolverine's hair grows back perfectly. I was realizing this last time I watched one of these movies. It's like, oh, his hair doesn't just only grow back. It grows back to exactly what he had it cut at earlier. So like that's some advanced superhuman healing. She can create poisons, but also create like antidotes for at least the poisons she's creating. I don't know, man. Like she's not really doing a ton for me personally. I'm putting her down by Jean Grey in the B tier because at least, you know, she can heal. Bishop's another guy who's got cool powers if you're a superhero, right? He can absorb energy and then like redistribute it like through his gun and everything, but also just through concussive blasts. He's got superhuman strength and everything with how he's able to fight the Sentinels. But in my everyday life, I'm not really running into this kind of stuff very often. He has glowy eyes, which again kind of make it a little hard to hide that there's like something going on with you. So I think I might have to put him down there like with the blue tongue kid, but he's going to be even just a little bit lower. Quicksilver's got like that super speed, and he doesn't seem too bothered with the fact that things go slow. It almost feels like he can turn it off and on, because if you're just having to live that slow your entire life, it would be too much. He's like OP in his super speed, so much so that they got to get rid of him whenever there's a big fight going on, like with Apocalypse or when Jean Grey is turning bad. So I like that. I think I'm going to put him in the S tier. I'm going to put him right above Colossus. Blink can create portals. This would be extremely helpful. I would like to do this a lot. She has like purple hair, and her eyes are kind of a different color. Prices to pay, I think, you know, just wear sunglasses and a baseball cap, and then we just call the rest of it good. Putting portal creation in the S tier for sure. Sunspot shows up in 2 movies. He's here in X-Men Days of Future Past, but also in the New Mutants. He's burning stuff up. He's a fire guy. In the New Mutants, he doesn't have a ton of control over that ability, which does make it a little bit more scary. This guy, he's got it under control in Days of Future Past. Being as like hot as the sun, you know, having a form where you're just on fire, pretty cool. But again, I don't know when I'm going to use it much. He doesn't really have the ability to like stop fires either, which is something that Pyro's got over him. I think I'm going to put this guy next to Riptide because I'm sure there's a time and a place for it, but I just can't really think of it being that often. Warpath has like some superhuman senses and strength and agility and all that, but he also can fly. We all know how I feel about flying. I'm a simple creature. I need one thing, and it's to be able to fly. I'm going to put him right underneath Quicksilver in the S tier. This guy, Ink, we don't see him do much. He can use his tattoos to like do different things, but the only thing we really see him do in the movie is make somebody sick by using his tattoo that looks like, I don't know, like the toxic symbol, like make a guy want to throw up. So that's not particularly great. Not something I'm excited to be a part of. I'm going to put him down there in the D tier. We'll say right next to Rogue. Daniels is very similar to Quill. In fact, I had to make sure they weren't the same character. This guy also has balance manipulation where you can make people be off balance. So that's one extra bit. But again, I don't know how helpful it is. I feel bad to put this guy as low as I'm going to, but he's going in that F tier. Now we got Deadpool himself. It's hard to say like what parts of his powers are from his powers and what parts of it are from mental illness or like the cancer that he has and everything. So things we know for sure. He's got a healing factor. He's essentially immortal. He's got super strength, super durability, and all of that stuff. If I just have that and everything, then you got to go up there with the A tier. I think that, you know, the fact that he's breaking the fourth wall, that's not part of his mutant powers. That's the other stuff. So yeah, I'm going to put him up there by Sabretooth. Ajax has like enhanced durability and he's immune to pain, but the pain immunity I think just comes from the fact that he got experimented on a bunch. So I don't really think we even get that, but we'll just put it in there just in case. Pain immunity doesn't mean you don't get hurt. This guy's still getting like ripped up and everything and can get killed just as easily as anybody else. So really it's almost like a curse more than anything. There are people who have pain immunity. It's just nerve damage. So again, I think this guy's just got that strength and durability and reflexes working for him, which isn't nothing. But when you look at this list, there's plenty of other people that have that stuff going for them too. I'm going to put him down underneath Gambit. Angel Dust, she's got same kind of stuff, but like even higher. Like her adrenaline makes her super strong, super durable. She's got super stamina. She can still feel pain and everything. So it means she's not going to accidentally put her hand on like a burner or anything like that. And she doesn't have anything where it's like, oh, you're like a monster. So I think I'm going to go ahead and put her like up in the A tier, but just below the Juggernaut, very bottom of A tier. Negasonic Teenage Warhead is full of powers that I don't think would be great for me to have because I'm just like, why would I need this? Like, unless you're fighting other people, I don't know when this would be effective. And they seem very dangerous. I'm going to put her down there in the D tier, top of it, because at least she seems to have control over her powers, even though I'm like, I should never use these. Apocalypse is the big bad of X-Men Apocalypse, and this guy's got a ton of powers. We do need to factor in the fact that he looks like a weird alien with like pipes coming out of his head and everything. We know that you will look like that if you're him, because Oscar Isaac was normal looking dude. He got turned into this, and then now he looks like this. He can do pretty much everything. He's got force field generation. He can do portals. He can absorb information out of the TV with like it's the internet, which doesn't make any sense at all. He can change matter, like he can make people fall into the walls or to the floor. He's got telekinesis. He can also like mess with people's brains. He's got a healing factor. He's got everything. And on top of all that, again, he can transfer his brain and stuff into a new body. So I don't know. It's a lot to handle. And I feel like if you're looking like this guy, you've got to kind of step up and be like, I'm going to take over the world. It's a lot to handle. So I don't think I want to put it all the way up at the top, but it's hard to argue against like all the powers that come with it. And plus, like, who's going to be picking on you when you're this strong, right? Only the X-Men. And then you're going to wipe the floor with them most of the time. I think I'm going to put him right between Mystique and Iceman because, you know, I think that if it really came down to it, I would still rather be able to look like anybody. That could be like a really dumb placement. Let me know in the comments. Now we're looking at the four horsemen, the original four horsemen of Apocalypse back in Egypt. First off, we have Pestilence. This guy's just got super strength, but he looks like a scary monster. It's going to be pretty low for me. I'm going all the way down into the D tier for this guy. War is the next one of the horsemen. He looks like Anger from Inside Out. And so, again, not a great look. He's got some cool powers. He can do like these big blasts that disintegrate stuff. He's also super strong, but he just looks too silly. I'm going to put him down in the D tier also. Death has a few more things working for her. She's got telekinesis, shield generation. She can do mind control. with her voice. So not necessarily like with your brain, like she's saying things that and they will happen. So that's better than people being in your head all the time. Plus, she doesn't look that weird. She's got like some cracks on her face and everything. We can cover it up. We can find some YouTube tutorial that'll help us with that. I think I'll put her up by Jean Grey in the B tier. Lastly, we've got Famine, which is fire manipulation, very similar to Pyro. So I'm up for putting her up there with him. Again, not looking that weird. Psylocke's powers are pretty much wasted on me. I don't have any kind of fighting ability or anything. She can create like psionic weapons and manipulate energy. I'm sure there's ways I could get creative with that. I just don't know what they are right now. There is some potential and everything, so I don't want to put her too low. I'm going to put her up there with the fire guy with Sunspot. Jubilee, ever the joke, has got just like firework powers and everything. She can control electronics and stuff a bit with that and everything, which is pretty cool. But nothing really to write home about compared to some of these other things. She doesn't really have any big negatives swinging her way, though, so that's always good. I think I'm going to put her right below the kid that can learn languages really well. Cypher. That kid's name is Cypher. Nina is Magneto's daughter. She has got like animal empathy. She can kind of like control them with her emotions and everything. That's kind of fun, especially as like a little kid. Really get your like Snow White, Sleeping Beauty moments and everything. She doesn't really have any negatives showing up for her either, outside of her dad being Magneto and getting her killed. I think I'll put her in A tier because it's pretty fun. Caliban is able to detect mutants, and also he can smell them really good. So he can know where they are. Superhuman smell is what it said on his power list. Not something I think I would necessarily want. There's enough bad smells in the world that regular smelling them is, bad enough. I'm going to put Caliban down there in the F tier, right next to the Leech kid, because he's just about as useless as him. Laura, or X-23, is going to have all the same powers as Wolverine since she is his clone. And so, yeah, she's just going to go right there. Not really anything else to say about that. Richter is able to like control rocks in the earth and stuff. That's pretty cool. He's like an earthbender. He struggles a little bit with it, but he is able to like lift a truck like with a big stone and crush a guy with it. So that's pretty awesome. Being able to like control the earth and everything, I definitely see potential with, and I think that could be actually even fun. I'm going to put Richter right above Multiple Man. Jackson, one of the kids, he's got atmospheric adaptation. He can like change the air around him and everything. He can't breathe toxins. Like it will just adjust and he'll be able to breathe it just fine. It's pretty good. Again, I mean, I don't know. I guess it's the opposite of super smell. And so it's at least better than Caliban. I'll put the kid up there in C tier because, I mean, there's times I'd like to be able to do that. Bobby's got electrokinesis and electrogenesis, which means he can not only control electricity, but also create it himself. It's pretty cool, but he doesn't have the power to like control the technology or anything that goes along with some of those things the other guys can do. I think I'll put him in C tier also, but he's going to be kind of down there by the Ice Princess. Delilah's also going to be down there by the Ice Princess because she also has just ice powers. She can breathe freezing breath on stuff. So it's pretty cool, but limited. And then X-24, again, another clone of Wolverine, same kind of powers as him, but he is just like crazy. It's a psychopath. So I don't know if I really should change that because we're just talking about having the powers. So again, he's just going to be there. I'll put him below Laura. Cable's up next. I'm not 100% sure what part of his mutant abilities come from his robot arms or if his robot arms are part of it. It's not made entirely clear in the movie, but he's got like shielding, he's got like super strength and super durability. Maybe that's all we're working with when it comes to that. He's got some kind of shield generation. Again, that could be coming from electronics and everything. I don't know. It's not quite clear enough for me to put it up too crazy high, though the stuff he does is pretty cool. Just to be safe, we'll put him kind of there, up there in the middle. We'll put him by Jean Grey. Makes sense. Fire Fist is going to have, again, fire manipulation powers and everything. He's got control over it, even at his young age. I think I'm going to keep him down there by Sunspot more, just because, again, I don't think he's really putting out fires as much as just making them happen. Domino's name, it probably has the biggest difference between like how cool it is and what it sounds like. So they call it probability field manipulation. She's lucky, right? She doesn't ever know quite exactly how it's going to work out, but it's going to work out. I like that, and that she's got the confidence of it. She's seen it happen over and over again. I'd love to be able to have that in my own life. I think this one's going to go pretty high for me. I'm going to go all the way up just underneath Angel with the fancy wings, Zoe Kravitz, just because I'd like to be able to fly, but you know, that luck stuff is pretty good too. Shatterstar almost made it onto the list, but then I remembered he's not actually a mutant. He's an alien, so he doesn't get a sneak on. Plus, he's really vague in what his powers are. Anyway, he can do everything better than us, and that doesn't really help me much. So, sorry, Shatterstar, you're not going on the list. Zeitgeist spits acid. Now, that's not great, especially because he doesn't seem to have complete control over it. You know, RIP for our boy Peter there, at least in the original timeline. And then also, like, there's no real reason for me to want to have acid. So if I got to pick, it's not something I'm going to want, especially if it's just like all of my saliva is acid, right? I drool on my pillow sometimes, right? I don't want to have to buy a new pillow all the time. It's going down there pretty low, not quite below Rogue, but just kind of right above that. Bedlam can manipulate bioelectricity, which, I don't know, the way he describes it, like being able to like give people headaches and blow their heads up essentially and all that stuff. I'm like, I don't know if that's really something I'm going to need to use. But again, it's not something where it really seems to be a negative for him. So I think I'm going to put him in C tier, but he's not going to go any higher because it's not really like I'm going to be like, yeah, I'm going to use this power all the time. Vanisher is invisible. Would that be cool? I guess. But I feel like you'd get so lonely eventually, like nobody knows that you're there, especially because the guy's not talking. Do we know for sure? Can you hear him? Can he talk? He doesn't even really let out that much of a sound when he gets electrocuted. It is nice to know that you're not naked, right? Vanisher has clothes on when he dies, so it's not like one of those situations where like you got to take off all your clothes to actually be fully invisible. So you're not like a weirdo pervert. If you can turn it off and turn it on, that's one thing. We don't really ever see him turn it off except for when he dies. So I don't know. I think I might put it up there by Jean. You know, if I knew for sure you could turn it off, it would be even higher. But I'll put it by Jean, like right underneath Cable. Sluggo is nigh invulnerable. Hard to argue with that. Looks like a normal dude. I'll put him in B tier, and I'm going to put him right up there by the kid who can learn languages real quick. Dazzler is fun because she's very performative. She can do like light manipulation, and she can adjust sounds and do all kinds of stuff like that too. Real big performer. Yeah, I like that. It sounds like fun. Great party trick at the very least. I don't think that's one of those where it's like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna use it all the time, but it's definitely one of those like you bust it out. People are like, that was pretty cool at that party when you were like that. It's like, oh, thank you. Just something I can do. I'm gonna put it between Psylocke and Riptide because again, Riptide's still got that flying ability and it's hard to beat. Match has got pyrokinesis and he's immune to heat and fire, putting him by Sunspot and by Fire Fist. Ariki, I think is how you pronounce it, but his hair is able to like use it as like tentacles, and he's got like metal and stuff in it. Now I'd have to have long hair for it to even be useful because my hair as long as it is right now, it's like what would I even be able to do with it? But you know, if it was longer, being able to grab stuff with your hair and everything, that's pretty cool. I'm not going to be trying to fight people with it, but being able to use it to grab things, that's fun. But I mean, I guess I don't think about like my arms being able to grab stuff as that crazy, but it's like my hair would need to be at least as long as my arms to even get that much out of it. I guess it may not be that cool. So I think I'll just put him down by Banshee because like something's like, yeah, I guess I have this ability, but like probably not going to use it very much. Selene is another telepath, so she's going to be down there by Professor X and everything. She doesn't have like the telekinesis powers to go above that. So yeah, she's just going to be hanging out down there with him. Wolf's Bane is a werewolf. So, I mean, she can turn all the way into a wolf. She can turn into like a weird werewolf combination where she looks like there's just kind of hair plastered on the side of her face and she's got sharp claws. I don't know. Turning into a wolf is kind of cool. And that's one where it's like, you know, just to be a dog essentially for a while, be pretty fun. None of these other guys can do that. I think that turning into a dog for me is like close to being able to like create fire and all of that stuff, just like to be able to make it. I think it's going to have me put it right above those fire guys in the B tier. I'm just going to err on the side of dog. Magic is stacked in all the power she has. There's teleportation, portal creation. She can conjure things out of like that other dimension and everything. She's got enhanced strength and durability and speed. And also like she can use her kind of imagination to make things come to life, kind of like the little dragon, like Lockheed comes to life and is fighting with her. I don't know if it comes from the dimension and everything. Again, it's not super explained in the movie. And when that's what we're going off of is what shows up in the movie. So, I mean, overall, there's not really a ton of negatives there. You know, anything that's negative about her character is just her character. That ain't me, dude. So we got teleportation and all that. So that's definitely high up there. I think I'm going to put her next to Blink. And I might even put her just right above her because she's got the portal creation kind of stuff, but then a bunch of other stuff on top of it too. Cannonball was my favorite thing about the New Mutants. When it comes to his powers, I don't know how much I'd like to have it. It's close to flight, right? And maybe if you get it under control, it can be just about that. But while you're learning, it's definitely not. So he has what they call thermal chemical energy field propulsion. He essentially just does like an explosion on the bottom half of his body and goes flying because of that. He's super strong and durable, and we know that because like he's not dead, though he is beat up a ton. Like he's got his arm in a cast and everything, but it doesn't ever really stop him from doing it later on. I think there's potential for this one, but it's like kind of nervous about it. I think it's going to go down like with the Riptide because it's like I got to be careful where I'm doing it. You can't just fly anywhere like this. So that's going to put him in the B tier. Mirage is one of those ones where it's like, I don't think I actually want this at all. She has empathic psi powers. So like she's bringing people's worst nightmares to life, essentially. She's casting these illusions that have tangible stuff in them where she can like rip people apart and kill them. She's got a giant psychic bear that's chasing her around and everything too. It's a lot. I'm gonna put this one down in the D tier. In fact, I think at the very bottom of it, just because the potential that there is to accidentally murder a bunch of people. Dr. Reyes can make force fields, and she seems to be able to have those be in place even when she's unconscious. Like when she's asleep, the kids still can't escape from the school and everything. So that's pretty cool. And they also look nifty, like when the water is on them. So that's an extra bonus. I think it's one of those things where it's like, I might have the power. I'm probably not going to use it a ton. But there's not really any negatives that come from it. I'm going to put this one in the B tier, but like right above Vanisher. And then that brings us to the last mutation we're going to talk about, and that is Cassandra Nova, Professor X's sister. She is telepathic, but she has to like kind of touch people's brains more so than just like read the brains. So at least I know I'm not going to accidentally do it, right? It's not something where I'm going to have to listen to everybody yelling at me all the time. So that does kind of put her above Professor X. She uses her psychic abilities to regenerate also, which is cool. Though, you know, how often I'd need to be doing that? Probably not that much. I'm going to put her in the B tier right by Jean Grey because, again, I'm not really that interested in doing these things. But if I have the powers, I'm sure I'll figure out something to do with them. And then there is the whole list. So that's like 98 different characters we got ranked. Sorry, Shatterstar, you don't get a B on the list. Knocks us off of 99. But yeah, so let me know. What do you think? Am I way off on some of this? I think that Storm is probably one of the coolest, most useful ones. Being able to have it be whatever temperature I want it to be, wherever I am forever, sounds pretty awesome. That on top of being able to fly, you know, that's good enough for me. That sounds like paradise. Thanks so much for sticking around here to the end of the video. If you are here at the end, why don't you let me know in the comments below. It's super helpful in like kind of driving the video getting seen by other people when there's more interaction underneath it. So I do appreciate that. Again, let me know your opinions on things in here. And if there's any future tier lists you'd like me to kind of tackle, I'm always looking for suggestions in that. This one was a lot of fun for me to do. I've been thinking about it for a long time, watching all the movies and everything, getting reacquainted into all of this. So yeah, this one was a bit of work, but definitely a lot of fun. So I'll look forward to seeing you again in the next video. Until then, you take care. Bye.